that we've gone over the basics of what a scout and what a scythe are, we're going to start showing you some of the cool stuff you guys can do. So we're going to go over to iWire now. Oh, well, that's obnoxious. Okay. Okay, so can you guys see the iWire page? Can you see my mouse? Can you see me turning the cell? Yeah. Okay, cool. So how do you communicate with your fellow scouts and scythes? Well, the easiest way is to use the scout chat. Most of you guys have already probably figured this out. You just type in /GM scouts and you type your message. And scouts and scythes are in the same channel in here, so no trash talking each other in there. You can also communicate in the scouts log, leaving little messages. And there's also a scouts email. And that's just scouts@iwire.org or scythes@iwire.org. So for the newer guys, we have not added you to the email list yet. If you would like to be put on the email list, we sent out an email asking you. You should probably let us know. Otherwise, we're not going to put you on there. But that's useful. Don't spam everyone with your cute puppy pictures, but you know, you can also send out messages to people. Okay. So that's basically how you guys communicate. Now, let's get started. So first things first, look at the overview. You can click and just turn the cell. That's just a left click and a turn. You can zoom in and you can zoom out on it, pretty easy. If you want to center on a specific point, you Alt and you click on it, and it will move the center coordinates right there. If you have debug on, and that's just going to be /debug in the chat, you'll notice that when you Alt click on something, it's actually going to change your center points to whatever you're clicked on. And so even if I'm very zoomed out, if I Alt click on something, then when I zoom in, it will zoom in directly on that. And that also lets you pivot directly around where you clicked. So that's good for getting a good look right here. And it looks like we have a late person. Can one of you guys post the link in Scouts chat, please?
I got
it. That is correct. You can email support@iWire and you will be added to that. So let's give a second for our new guys to join. It looks like we got a couple of extra people in here. Maybe. China Dragon and Jay Binzik. Amy's doing a little dance over in the corner. Okay, so hey guys, so we just went over what is a scout and scythe, how do you communicate, and now we're just starting to work on the overview. Okay? So let's get started again with that. So what I was saying is basically you can left click and sort of rotate around and pan, and if you want to rotate around a very specific pit or zoom in on something specific, Alt and click, and then you can zoom in directly on that thing. All right? So very useful. Something also cool you can do if you're careful, and if you want to, is you can zoom inside a cell, and you can sort of see the architecture in there. This isn't really useful for gameplay. It's just kind of cool and creepy, so I do it once in a while when I'm bored. Okay. Another way you can use this is you can pan, and to do that you right-click and you drag. And so this doesn't rotate the cell, but it does let you move across it like you're panning a camera. So this can be useful too, and it's nice not to have a constantly rotating cell because that can get a little confusing when you're really far zoomed in. And I'm going to ask, I think, Marissa to keep an eye out for questions because I have iWire open and not the chat page. So you guys can either send me chats in Scouts chat or relay them to Marissa, just FYI. Or you can ask them out loud. All right, so another thing you have as a new scout is you have Scythe Vision. And so you turn that on and you have a lovely colorful cell, and we're going to go to one that's slightly less colorful. Let's go look at 226A. Now this cell is kind of a pain in the butt. It's very tangled already, and it's not done yet. So what are the colors? Blue means that nobody's checked it. Purple means an admin has checked it. The light purple right here means that a Scythe has checked it. Red means an admin has intervened. Orange means a Scythe has intervened. And yellow, if there is any yellow on here, means that a scout has flagged it. The white down here just means that we've frozen the cell body because we don't like people playing cell body cubes because it's bad for accuracy, it takes forever, and it's not, frankly, very much fun. Okay, we also, you might see that we have a white branch right here, white cube, and over here, and one right here. That's because this cell is actually split in half because we knew it was going to be a gnarly cell, and we wanted to have it on 2 different pages so that we could actually do this without driving ourselves insane. It took us half the amount of time to do reaping on the cells that it used to. So that's why we do that. Okay, so you guys might, okay, so a couple of things. So when stuff is purple, like this, the dark purple, that means that another player is not going to get that same cube. That's because the admins have said this is complete. With light purple, you can still be assigned that cube, but it's a visual marking showing us that the Scythes think this is complete, and then we don't have to check it nearly as thoroughly as we would otherwise. Okay, so another cool thing that you guys can do now is Scythes, is you can click on a cube, and you can hit Show Children. And that's going to show you all the children of this branch. So you can see that this one little cube that I clicked on has 79 children, and it sort of goes everywhere across the cell. So something interesting that you guys might notice is right here. See how this one is bright green, but it does not seem to be connected to our branches? Same with this part right here. It's just bright green for no apparent reason. That's because our method of coloring is not perfect. And so what happens is that this one right here, this one that's bright green for no apparent reason, happens to share cube space with another one. So I'll click over here. See how they're within the same boundaries? So we can only color something one color within a cube, even if they are 2 separate things. So every once in a while you're going to get bleed over. So this piece right here is not actually a part of it, but it does just happen to be colored over. So that's something to pay attention to when you're looking at Show Children or Scythe when you're using your Scythe Complete. So sometimes stuff will show up and it doesn't make sense, and that's why. So just, keep an eye out for that. It's not really a problem, and eventually we'll hopefully get a chance to fix it. Okay, so now how do you decide what to look at? So what I like to do is I pick something small to start with, especially when I'm looking at a new cell, because it'd be pretty overwhelming to just go start here at the base, say with this cube, and then go, let's turn this off, check everything out, because there's a million branches, and so for smaller stuff, I'll start on a smaller part. I'll just start on a smaller part of a branch to kind of get started. So maybe I'll go look at this one right here. And I'll see, looks like right here we have a little jagged spot right here. See that right there? And then we've got on the end of this branch a little forked bit, and that looks a little bit odd, so we're going to go inspect that. And so what I tend to do with new cells is I will just sort of kind of go bit by bit and look in the overview for anything that catches my attention instantly as looking wrong. And then after I've done that for a while, then I'll start going methodically through a cell. But usually when a cell is new and it hasn't been looked at very much by the Reapers or by the Scythes and Scouts, then we're going to have errors so frequently that they're really easy to catch. Later you have to go methodically. So I double-clicked in the 3D on that bright blue piece because I want to see what's going on right there at the flat spot. And I'm going to turn on Explore mode for you guys to make it easier to see. Okay. It looks like that does belong. And it looks like it probably just ends right there, nice and rounded. All right, so we took care of one part of it. We've got a couple other things I want to look at. See this right here? That looks a little bit odd to me. Let's take a look. Okay. Well, I'm not really seeing something else to add right there, but let's try up here. Okay, so it doesn't look like anything is to add right there either. It looks like maybe it just... Okay, so we're going to reap that and change it. So new scouts, your interface is very similar to mine, except instead of a reap button, you guys are going to have a flag button. And if you'd flag that cube, what would happen is it would turn bright yellow, and then you would want to go log it in the scouts log. Because if you just log it as yellow, we know that some attention needs to be paid to it, but we don't know why. And so what the scouts log does is it allows you to say, oh, there's a missing nub, or there is a giant merger in here. This just looks weird. Can someone tell me whether this is right or wrong? All right. So with that, I'm going to actually go show you the scouts log a little bit. I can spell scouts. Okay, so here we have the scouts log. And new scouts and Scythe, or new scouts at least, I want you to use the new scouts tab that's right down here. It's the third from the left. And normally we divide this up onto cell pages, but while you're new, everything goes in here and you'll get promoted out of here pretty quickly. It's just so it's easier for us to catch if you're making a mistake, and it just allows you to learn the structure a little better. So what we have right here is the cube ID. So we were on cube 447185. So let's go down and let's enter this. 447185. Lightning 226A. Our print key. And here, right here in this little drop-down tab, it shows you the different things you can do. So good means there's no changes needed now. What I had was a missing nub, and if I want, I can add a screenshot if I think it's really obvious and everyone's going to obviously know what it is. I don't have to put this, but this is where you should put the image link, and it's best to only put one here, because if you put more than one, if you put two, or if you type anything else besides an image link, it makes it so the link isn't to actually copy and paste it. So like, watch this. Link isn't clickable anymore, and so that's a little bit annoying. So we ask you to just put one link in there without any comments. Okay, so let's fix that. And then I could say missing nub. Okay, and then the little teachable moments comment over here is for if you made a mistake or like there's a comment on how you did something. This is where you'll get some feedback on it. So it's good to go check the ones that you did, and then you can see it. So let's say I was a scout and I had just logged that. An admin or a Scythe would come along and look at the scouts log and be like, oh, I've got something right here that needs to be taken care of. I would take a look at that cube, go at it, and then I would come back, mark it as good, and then if I had any comments to add, I could just add added nub. Or you formatted that weird, please do it like this next time. So that's how the scouts log works, and you'll see that there are different pages for each cell. But once again, while you're a new scout, please just stick with that one. Okay, now there's another page in here that's called Scythe Complete. That is for Scythes, and it's for the Scythe Complete cool tool that they have. So this is a little bit different. You don't need to log every single cube you do, because that would take forever, or even every start point. Just what this is basically it's a sign-in sheet, and the reason we do this is because when you mark something Scythe Complete, it will update for you instantly. It doesn't update for everybody else instantly. So if Nesserif and Susie and Lottery Discount are all working on the same cell, they could be marking over each other, and it kind of could mess up what they're each Scythe completing. So if they're aware that they're all three are working on the same one, they can make sure to work on different sides of the cell or to refresh frequently, so that they have the accurate color components right there. And I'm going to quickly check over in the Hangouts and see if you guys have any questions so far. Okay, silent, no questions. That works for me. Okay, so excellent. Okay, so we're going to go back and do the overview and do some more checking, guys. All right. Oh, Michelle Wooden has a question. Uh, I will ask her in Scout Chat, and then, well, actually, you guys can see it in Scout Chat, and then I can respond out loud. Okay, okay. So, I showed you a little bit about what to look for, and that nub that I added earlier was about, that's a nub. So one of the things I want to stress to you is that this does not have to be absolutely perfect. I do not care about every little tiny piece of dust, because you're going to drive yourself and us a little bit crazy with that. So the important stuff is going to be the branches. That if it's supposed to continue across, does it continue across? Do we have the general shape? Are there no mergers? So that one's done right there. So that's what's important. So now I want to show you guys like what my pattern is for when I'm checking stuff is done. So I told you that when I first start out, I will just kind of check randomly around for stuff that looks weird, and then I'll start doing a more in-depth one. And it's what I do on a cell like this, which is a really complicated, ever so slightly evil cell. So I'm going to pick a place to start that's not going to drive me quite mad. And what I like to do is see right here, this purple one here and here and here. I pick out the little stragglers that sort of stick out, and then I start with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here. I'm going to see if Michelle Wooden got her question. Okay, I don't see a question yet. And Marissa, you still keeping an eye out for questions? Okay, she is indeed. So what I'm going to look at right here is I'm going to show the children first to see what I'm working with. Okay. So that's quite a bit in the way of children, right? Okay, so it looks like I've already done that over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start slightly further up here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to mark this both complete, and then I'm going to unmark one of these. And well, that didn't work very well.
You were saying, show them how to do a second line in Scout's log.
I just did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
What did he say that?
Like a control-enter, you know?
Wait, what?
Create a line break in a cell.
Oh, okay. I hear Nesrif had a request for showing how to do something in the Scouts log. I will show you how to do that after I do this bit. Sorry. Okay, so back on. So I completed this branch right here, both of these, and then I uncompleted this way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the one that's still purple up until I find something that's incomplete. And if I don't, then that whole branch is complete. The reason why I unmarked it after the split is so that I can remember where I did. Especially working on a bigger branch, this is really important because you can really easily lose where you started. And the reason why I mark it purple to start with instead of just remembering where I did is that it can be difficult, especially when you've been doing a lot of these, to remember exactly where you started. And this way, it's easier. So remember when I said I don't really care about dust? You can see right here, this little nick, that there's probably a tiny piece of dust missing. That is small enough that we don't care. And so what I want you guys to do when you're looking at stuff in the overview is you can move up along it by right-clicking and dragging, and you can turn it all around and take a look at it. So this little piece right here looks a little bit weird. So we're going to go take a look at this cube and inspect it. Okay. And then when I'm looking at it right here, I mean, it looks fine right there. It's a little bit weird, but it's okay. So we're going to just hit escape. And so you do not have to flag every cube that you inspect or reap it. If there's no changes necessary, don't do that. And then you also do not have to inspect every single cube. So this one right here, this one looks fine to me, so I'm not even going to bother inspecting that one. And this is going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make checking stuff a lot quicker. I want to just repeat that real quick for everybody there. Do not inspect every single cube. You'll drive yourself slowly insane. So this one I decided to inspect because it's really skinny right here. and it looks like maybe there's something missing. So maybe this right here. Ah, so do you guys see why that piece was actually missing right there? It's got a little bit of a merger. And we're going to leave this out. If the choice is between adding a merger in to get a little piece and having even a gap, like even a gap like this, I would rather have than a merger piece. Okay, so gaps are okay if the other alternative is a merger. Just FYI, guys. So this is also a good opportunity for me to talk about the colors that you're seeing in the cube. So if you have normal color set, you don't have, your favorite color is yellow and that's all your segments in the cube set like that, you're going to see some color differentiation. So the dark blue right here is the seed piece. And then another cube, you'll see a range of colors that go from pink or from purple to kind of orange, and some blues in there as well. So what that is the more red content it has, the fewer people agree that it belongs. So the color goes dark blue, light blue, purple, pink, red, orange. And so it goes in that order of likelihood that it's attached. So, again, dark blue, light blue, purple, pink, red, orange. Okay? Okay.
If you're doing Scout Complete, do you still have to inspect every cube then?
Okay, so the question is, if you're doing Scout Complete, you still not have to inspect Scythe Complete. You still not have to inspect every cube. That is correct. If you're just learning and you're not really sure, go ahead and inspect everyone. It's going to take you a while. But if you are zoomed in the overview and you're spinning it around, it is possible to do it without inspecting every cube. And I'll tell you that I do not inspect every single cube that I do. And it's perfectly possible to be accurate without that. So it looks like this one actually might extend, but I'm not sure. So let's try adding this weird little green thing and seeing how this ends up looking. Oh, well, that got weird quickly, so that doesn't go. And I'm on a max, I'm a little slow on this. Different commands. So it keeps on adding weird stuff to this. So it looks like there might be a little bit of a merger right here, right, guys? Okay, well, this cube is a little bit trickier than I intended to. I'll come back to this cube later. But because I'm not sure if this branch is complete right here, I'm going to mark it incomplete. And so that's something really important when you guys are doing Scythe Complete is if a branch is incomplete at the end, you got to unmark the ends. And that's especially important when you're working with a split like this. Like, it was really important that I go and mark this. And so now what I would do is I would go over and I would check this one as well. Start back out that. Before I do, I'm going to show you something in the Scouts log again real quick. Okay, and Nesrif is reporting that he has that logged as an AI merger, so thank you, Nesrif. And you guys will note that we also refer to you as your usernames and probably pronounce them in a way that is kind of weird. We call Nico Neckham. Like, that's just, we try not to call him that in person, but that's just kind of how we call him. So what I was requested to show you guys a minute ago was how to add a second line, I believe, to something in the Scouts log. So let's say it's AI merger, and I want to add another line. That is Control-Enter. So this makes it easier to make it readable. So our print key, not sure. Occasionally, you guys are also going to come across stuff that an admin has logged here. And this could be something that we grew out as an experiment. Like we're not, and we'll put in cube ID 1234, our print key, and then we're going to set it to watch. And they'll be like, Not sure if real. Keep an eye on. So you'll come across those reasonably frequently, and I'm gonna just delete that because it's a fake one, and I don't want to, confuse people. Okay, so let's see. Um, okay, so on a cell that's more simple than 226A, which we're gonna move across, we're gonna move off of now. Let's say this one. Okay, so 228, a little bit easier, better structure. So how I would work on this one is I would actually work my way out, and I would start, like if this was a new cell and stuff wasn't marked purple, I would start here, unmark, 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 and then follow a branch. Okay, so a couple things to look for. How do you tell if a branch is done? So number one, does it go in the correct direction? So on this cell, if we had a branch that, see how these branches all sort of grow out? It's kind of like a tree. The branches grow up and out away from the trunk. So the branches on this cell and on many cells that we do are doing the same thing. They grow up and away from the cell body. Now, if we had a branch that suddenly doubled back and went straight back at the cell body, or did a right angle, or note these are all about the same level, they're all the same plane. If one suddenly went all the way up here, that would definitely be cause for concern, and we'd go look into that, and it would almost certainly be wrong. There are exceptions to the rule, but just it would almost certainly be wrong. Another thing to look for, is it about the same thickness? So occasionally you'll have a branch that is going the right direction, it's kind of squiggly in the same way, but it seems to be getting thicker going away from the cell body. And I'm not talking about boutons, just a temporary bulb swelling. I'm talking more about, like, the branch is just suddenly double or triple the thickness. That is also almost certainly going to be a wrong branch, even if it looks right in the direction and the behavior. Okay, another thing, is it about the same length as the other branches? So you guys see this one right here? This one probably continues because it is way shorter than the other branches that are nearby. Same with this one, same with this one, maybe same with all of these actually. So all the branches are going to go about the same length. And also, if you have a branch that's just going way off in left field, occasionally we'll get that, like one that'll just go out here, like, okay, something is clearly wrong here, and we'll go through and we'll look for a likely point to cut it off. And sometimes, even as admins, we can't tell for 100% like where the merger is, and so we'll just use our best judgment where we can actually cut it off from. Okay, I'm going to check back in with you guys. Okay, so anyone have a question? You can type into chat. I've covered everything, and you guys are now experts. Is that how this is going? Okay. Landis, I see you said slightly overwhelmed. What's up? Yeah, I know it's a lot of information. So what's the most overwhelming part? And I'll get you some more info. Tra-la-la. Okay. Any existing scouts or scythes? Anything that you think I should cover more, go back to? Okay, well, I'm just going to assume I did an awesome job then. Thank you guys for coming. Oh, how do you do screenshots? That is an excellent question. So this is going to depend on your computer, Derek. So one thing you can do is almost all computers will have a print screen button somewhere on your keyboard. And a lot of times it is kind of up above the number keypad if you have one. It just depends about that. A lot of other computers, like my Dell, I have a screen sniping tool where I turn it on and then I can draw a box around something. And pardon me. And that gets me a box around just the thing I want to, and then I don't have to crop it. Derek, what type of computer do you have? Okay, well you can Google how to take a computer on or Google how to take a screenshot on any type of computer, and then what we tend to do is we tend to upload it to Imgur, and so let's spell it Imgur. IMGUR. This is our favorite upload site because it's free and it's pretty easy. So you just go to the website and then you click on Upload Image, and you browse your computer and then you upload it. Okay. And then it'll provide you a little link in the corner with how to upload it. Okay, so Derek, you don't have the print screen button. What computer do you have? And we can help you figure that out. And then if you guys aren't sure about whether something is worth reporting, go ahead and report it, and you can ask for feedback in there, and we'll let you guys know. You can also, there's almost always an admin or a Scythe online. Okay. So we'll be able to answer some questions. And unfortunately, okay, so the Complete Children Scythe button. Okay, so Complete Children for Scythes is a way to mark that you think this branch is done. And what you do, okay, so the admins have a very similar interface to you guys, the Scythes. So I'm just going to show you on my admin account. So you start at something that's blue, so that hasn't been declared complete yet. And you inspect, okay? And so you move up along the branch, and you do not have to inspect every cube, but you do have to inspect everything in the overview. And what you're doing is you're looking for anything that might be wrong, might need to add something. And so I'm just inspecting this branch right here. And like we're not talking about dust, but we are talking about nubs. So this is, guys, what I would call a nub. This right here is something that if that's worth reporting that it's missing. And so I'm just moving up along the branch. You can have weird stuff hiding. Okay. And okay, so it looks like this cube is only at 1. And so see how it can be a permanent change of status, Jabin. And so what it's going to do is, let me show you. So I'm going to mark this as Complete Children up until this very last cube, which is still growing. See how it's got flat on the edge? I'm going to uncomplete that one. So this means that this branch from here up to here is complete. And so both the admins and the Scythes have this tool, and for the Scythes it turns it a light purple. For the admins it turns this darker purple that you see right here. And that's just telling us that this branch has been checked, it is done. Okay, so when an admin does it, it actually means that a player can't get any of those cubes again. When a Scythe does it, it doesn't do that. But an admin can overwrite the light purple that the Scythes did, and then that'll do the same thing. Okay, and it's really important to uncomplete this up here so that we know that this is still growing. Okay, now let me show you, I think there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys. So see how this cube right here, it also goes to the edge and it doesn't continue, but see how it has a red edge right here? That means that we don't actually have any more cubes right there. Oh, how do I uncomplete a cube, Michelle Wooden? It's easy. So there is an Uncomplete Children button next to your complete, or there, okay. So if a branch is not complete, you'll have a Complete Children button, and if it is complete, then you'll have an Uncomplete Children button. You get that? So right here it says Uncomplete Children, so that means that that was not complete. And of course you can't really see that because that one was purple, so let me just fix that. And I'll go somewhere else. Okay, so I click on this, it says Complete Children, so that means this branch is not complete. So I mark that, and now I can go up to the top and hit Uncomplete Children. So the text on the button just changes, and that actually changes the functionality of it. I'm going to go and uncomplete that now. So that actually is useful for telling when something is complete and when it's not, when there's some bleed over too. And we talked about bleed over earlier. That's just when the coloring from one branch affects the others. So you can see right here that this branch is purple, this purple spot here and here. No, that Michelle, that incompletes that cube and all the children of that cube. So we have a purple branch here and then little purple spots here and here. It seems unlikely that someone would complete just this and this. So what probably happens is that there's bleed over from this cube. And if I click on this, I can see it says complete children. So while it's got purple on it, it's not actually complete. And yes, use complete ancestors sparingly. I actually don't use that at all because it's harder to control it that way. So I just don't use complete ancestors. It sounds like Nesser starts. Okay, so that's an interesting way to do that. So that only works if you are sure it's complete. So Nesser, what Nesser does is he uses complete ancestors and starts at a fork and completes it backwards. So that works if you're able to go all the way back to the cell body. On some cells, it's not possible because it's just too complex. On a cell like this, you could probably actually do it. So there's different ways to do it. We like to reap from the cell body outwards usually because that's the way the cell grows. So the cell grows from the cell body outwards. It's more likely to be complete closer to the cell body. And then completing the branch partially and then uncompleting further up allows us to complete as we go. So, any more questions you guys have for me? Oh, I was explaining a red-ended cube, so let's go back here. Okay, so see how it's green on all the sides except for the one? The red edge means that there are no more cubes in this direction. And usually it actually does mean that just this is the edge of our data set. So if we looked at some of the other branches up here, they would also probably have a red end, see that? But if we ever got a red cube that was sort of like, let's say that this one was a red edge cube, it's not, but let's pretend. See how it's a bunch shorter, it's a lot shorter than the other branches? So the data clearly continues. So if we ever get one that is a red edge on a branch that's significantly shorter, it means that we can actually make more cubes, and then you should report that to headquarters, and we'll get that taken care of. Okay. Oh, and yes, scouts don't have the Scythe Complete button. You get that when you become a scout, and one of the reasons why is because you guys are just learning how to use your powers, and we don't want to overwhelm you with too much stuff at once. And if there are no more questions, I think we're probably going to wrap this up. But thank you all for coming. And if any of you guys are new and you want on the Scout email list, please let us know, and we will hook you guys up with that. And we don't spam you. As I said, we occasionally send out announcements or like a rule change or something, and it's just easy to get a hold of people that way. Okay, thank you guys for coming. Bye.